If I were to describe Risk of Rain 2 purely in game terms, such as a roguelite shooter, it would probably paint a picture in your mind. It might even lead you to believe that it's another one of those games and make you exit this video. You would be wrong, and I'd be doing the game a great disservice. Not because Risk of Rain 2 is a radically unique game, it isn't, but because of how it takes those common concepts and carves them to a sharp point capable of drawing blood. It is, in fact, a third-person roguelite shooter, but with extremely refined mechanics, an addicting gameplay loop, great visual style, and a cast of characters that all play differently from each other. And it's a tough game, even on the lowest setting. It's playable in online co-op with up to 4 friends, so you can at least suffer together. Risk of Rain 2 is very fast-paced. There is rarely a moment of brevity where you can breathe. The enemies are relentless, and a run gets progressively more difficult while the clock is ticking. Failure means a restart, but you do keep the characters you unlock, and new items can appear in future runs. Most of my time spent playing Risk of Rain 2 was on the Xbox One. I did play a bit of the PC version with a mouse and keyboard, and both are masterclass examples of tight and easy to use controls. Nothing ever feels awkward or clunky. They are responsive, and it went a long way to winning me over from the moment I entered the game. Each character's skills are clearly laid out on different buttons or keys, and the interface is simple, crisp, and clear. My partner usually played with me, and she's not nearly as well traveled when it comes to games as I am, yet she picked it up with no effort. I did have to turn off the aim assist on the console version. I do that in every game, but I'm making a point of it here because the game is far too fast-paced for it. Any stickiness to the aim will screw you up, and the slightest screw-up will end your run. You enter various stages and are constantly assaulted by never-ending waves of monsters. You have to find and activate a randomly placed teleporter in each stage, fight a boss, and survive while it charges up. The more time that passes, the harder the game gets. The more time you spend in a level, the tougher the next one will be. So playing fast is ideal, but you have to balance this out with your hunt for loot. You do gain levels as you fight, but the bulk of your power comes from items. You earn money when you slay enemies, and you can use that to open chests and buy stuff from stores. Without acquiring enough items, your run will be doomed to fail, so you always need to balance out your greed against the game's timer. When I said the game is fast-paced, I meant it. Standing still is a death sentence in Risk of Rain. You must always be running, jumping, and shooting to survive. It's a tense experience, and a constant factor as you make decisions on how to proceed. In solo, you will likely pick up every item you can, but you can still attempt to build out your character through the use of stores and 3D printers, both of which allow you to see what item you're buying before you buy it. Some items are active, and might allow you to fire missiles or summon a black hole, but most of them are passive. Yet calling them passive is somewhat disingenuous. The item's effects are nearly always felt. You will see the effects of an item that arcs electricity when you shoot. You feel faster when an item increases your speed, and one that allows you to double jump will make you miss it anytime you don't have it, trust me. Items have rarities too, and lunar items, which can only be bought with lunar coins, a much rarer currency, have powerful boons and negatives to balance them out. There isn't as much choice in Risk of Rain 2 as there is in a roguelike such as Crown Trick, but there is absolutely strategy involved. That's even more apparent in multiplayer, where you need to share the items with your team. One item will slowly put a healing aura around you if you stand still for a couple of seconds. Standing still means you die, and that makes the item pretty useless. That is, unless a friend is playing the engineer. An engineer has turrets. The engineer's turrets inherit the power of the items they're carrying. Turrets don't move. Do the math. This is one of the more extreme examples, but there are a lot of similar combinations, like the rare Tesla coil item that strikes enemies around you with electricity. It's good on any character, but it really shines on the melee classes. There are 10 playable characters in Risk of Rain 2. You start with only one, the Commando, and you need to unlock the others as you play. But each and every one of them has a very distinct playstyle, unique abilities, and they synergize well with different items. For example, the Commando is the most straightforward and uses rapid-fire pistols, and he can dodge roll. The Artificer plays like a mage. She can hover, summon ice walls, and launch energy blasts. The Mercenary gets up close with a sword and darts around the battlefield incredibly quickly. I definitely have my own favorites and least favorites, but I never felt that any of them were over or underpowered. Going even further is the fact that each character has unlockable secondary abilities. For example, you can swap out the Commando's dodge roll for a slide, or swap the Artificer's flamethrower for an electrical high jump. Having 10 distinct characters that play differently with unique abilities is incredibly impressive, and it's just one of many factors that make the game so replayable. The gameplay loop is satisfying and constantly engaging with little to no downtime. Every enemy has its own attack patterns, and how you deal with them is different for each character. Some characters have clear advantages over certain enemies and weaknesses against other types. Elite versions of the enemies can also appear as the run timer increases, and there are several large bosses for you to fight. I have played a lot of Risk of Rain 2, and I don't find it repetitive. It has an almost arcade-style one more try nature to it, to just see how far you can get before you die. And that's in addition to its great roguelite progression loop. I've ended many runs angry, vowing that I was done playing, only to immediately push start and try again. Risk of Rain 2 has a ton of secrets, whether it be levels, bosses, items, you name it. And finding them isn't always straightforward. One of the simpler ones is the lunar portal that leads you to a special store. Inside this place is another portal to another secret level. A secret within a secret, both of which are required to unlock 2 different characters. But this is where Risk of Rain 2 begins to stumble from grace. Secrets are great, but they need to be designed in a way that a player can reasonably find them within the game. I don't believe that's the case. The game hints at literally nothing at all. The issue is, some of these secrets are a really big deal. Artifacts add an additional replayable element to the game, allowing you to set powerful modifiers that affect a run. Good luck figuring out how to acquire them. A single run in Risk of Rain 2 consists of 5 stages, and the 5th one leads you to this really cool final boss fight before the credits roll. If you only ever do this, you are missing a large chunk of the game. You can in fact continue your run indefinitely until either you die or you choose to end it. There are entire enemy types that you will never see if you don't continue your loop past the 5th level. I have no idea how a new player would ever figure this out. I've been playing since the early access days, back when there was no final boss. Looping runs was the game back then, so I already knew this. It isn't clear how to continue past the 5th stage, or that you even can. I could see many fresh-faced players beat the boss, watch the credits roll, and think, that's it. It's great that we have game wikis and communities to turn to when in need, but it should never be a requirement to Google something about a game. I'm not sure how anyone would discover some of these secrets organically, except by complete and total accident. There's a problem with some of the challenges you need to complete in order to unlock certain items, skills, and characters as well. Some of them aren't just obscenely difficult, they rely heavily on the RNG aligning the stars in just the right spot to even allow you to complete them in the first place. These challenges don't bar little things, they can hold entire skills hostage. To unlock one of the mercenary secondary skills, you have to complete a prismatic trial, which is 2 stages under a set of random artifacts that change weekly, without taking any damage. I have long accepted that I am never unlocking that skill. As you continue past the 5th stage, which you are certainly meant to, since you can't experience all the content unless you do, the game's balance can get wonky. One challenge requires you to make it to stage 20, so I like to use stage 20 as a marker for a run. By the time you get to stage 20, you will probably be so overpowered that you will sneeze at an enemy and it will die. You will also probably die yourself in a single hit regardless of what kind of defensive items you have. I'm almost never sure how I died in later stages. My screen flashes red and boom, I'm pushing up daisies. And on the standard Xbox One, the frame rate can start to tank from all the action in later stages, and that alone can get you killed simply due to the precise nature of the game. That said, Risk of Rain 2 is a stellar roguelite shooter. It's a blast to play, it can easily eat an entire day, and the combat design, tight controls, and constant action make it hard to put down. The character variety, enemy types, boss battles, and item builds make the game feel like it will never get old. It's obtuse as hell about some of its secrets, and the criteria for unlocking certain aspects can rely way too heavy on randomness. At times, death can even feel random or just unfair, especially in later stages, yet any anger I feel at the time fades fast and I just want to play again. Risk of Rain 2 stacks up as one of the most well-designed roguelites on the market, and is a clear example of early access done right. Its replay value is high, and its fun factor is even higher, especially with friends. The cracks of its porcelain skin are ugly because of how pristine the rest of its form is. To recap, it has tight and responsive controls, it has difficulty settings, tons of secrets, great action-packed gameplay, 10 unique characters with different playstyles, and high replay value. But on the flip side, some secrets are nearly impossible to find organically. Some challenges hold important elements hostage while relying heavily on RNG to complete them. The balance gets wonky in higher stages and death can feel unfair, and the standard Xbox One struggles to keep up on higher stages. I give it an 8.8 out of 10. If you found this review helpful, and you think the game seems interesting, I just added Risk of Rain 2 to my Creator Store. Now, my Creator Store is a personally curated store of games. I choose what goes in there, and if you buy from it, you get the game, and I get a cut. It's one of the best ways to support creators right now, and it's kind of a new thing. I'll leave a link to it down in my description below. And if you're watching this on YouTube, well, I'm also a writer. In fact, I just started YouTube, but I've been a game reviewer for 2 years. And you can find the bulk of my content on my website at gideonsgaming.com, which I'll also leave in the description. Thanks for watching, and until next time.